Easy Explain Creative Evolution by Henri Bergson. Introduction and Overview. So you're going to take a look at Bergson himself here to kick things off. He was born in Paris in 1859, and he died there as well in 1941. Pretty much spent most of his life and career in France and Paris. He was very well known. He was very popular. His philosophy, his books were very accessible, very popular even at the time. They're pretty easy to read even for the person who wasn't studying philosophy. He took more of like a life philosophy approach to what he thought he was doing, which is very pragmatic of him, right? He is largely grouped as one of the pragmatists, a French pragmatist. He took his pragmatism a little more metaphysically than James did. James was all about, very much so, physical, action-based practicality. Bergson's pragmatism, as we're going to see, is much more about how to think about reality and life and how it continues to evolve and grow. Speaking of James, he was a big fan of Bergson. James was instrumental in helping to bring Bergson into the English in the translation, helping to introduce it to American audiences. So James was a huge fan. If you read James's book, A Pluralistic Universe, he also references creative evolution in there quite a few times. So they were buds. They were friends. They knew each other. They knew each other's work. They were in support of each other. They agreed on a lot of things. So James and Bergson here. So look at some big concepts, some big themes for Bergson. He really likes the theme and concept of duration and endurance, especially as we think about life, the metaphysics of life, pragmatic navigation of life. Really big concept for him, it's usually left untranslated, is élan vital, which is usually translated as like the life force or like a vital impulse. And for Bergson, that's something that's at work behind everything. And underneath that life, he talks about the very nature of reality itself, which is disorder, right? So on top of that nature of reality, that disorder, we as being living things in the life force, we are creating and evolving, right, on top of that, and enduring, right? Those are some of his really big themes and concepts. So this is all taking place in France in 1907, right? It first was published there as Evolution Créatrice. And then, 4 years later, thanks to the help of James and others, we see the English translation emerge as Creative Evolution in 1911. Really becomes very popular at that point to the English-speaking and reading world. So, Bergson had a very long and successful career. He did die in 1941 in Paris, but he still continues to be of great influence today. Endurance, when I think of the word endurance, I think of the movie Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. He named the spaceship that the last of humanity is on, trying to find a new home for us. Sorry if that's spoilers. It's called the Endurance. There's also a quote we're going to look at that very much so, to me, screams the philosophy of Nolan's movie Tenet as well. We'll get there. Just an overview of how we're going to approach this work, because it's a little bit on the longer side, but I do think it's very important. Again, it's very influential, and it's kind of fun to read as well. There's some really cool things in here. So we're going to break down each of the 4 chapters into 2 parts. So chapter 1, it's largely on the evolution of life. We're going to break it into part 1 on duration, part 2 on philosophy of biology. Chapter 2 is largely on divergent evolution, how things become more different over time. And here we're going to look at Bergson's understanding of consciousness and his disambiguation between instinct and intelligence, right? How those 2 different operating forces at play here. Chapter 3, we're going to get a little bit more metaphysical, look at the meaning of life. This is where he gets into the order of nature and reality as disorder and chaos, and where he ties intelligence back into this and how those 2 forces interact. And finally, we'll look at the end of the book. It's chapter 4. It's focusing on becoming and what that really means. So he's going to contrast form and void, and we'll wrap up with some demonstrations, I think, to help clarify this philosophy. I think it's really cool. It's a ton of fun. It's a continuation of pragmatism in a slightly different light. But for an intro and overview for now, hope this helps.